No. This is a huge Democratic Party problem. If you look at Democratic cities, they are terribly run. They have incredibly high taxes. It is impossible to build, so the cost of housing. Let me finish. I give you a chance. Cost of housing is crazy in places like New York and Chicago.
In a moment so rare it could make a unicorn choke on its latte, Bill Maher pulled off the unthinkable. He coaxed CNN's Fareed Zakaria into admitting, brace for impact, that some of Donald Trump's policies were actually beneficial to America. Cue the gasps, cue the thunderclap, cue Anderson Cooper dropping his LaCroix in slow motion. On real time, what began as a polite exchange quickly mutated into a truth-telling cage match. Zakaria, squirming like a cat in a bathtub, chuckled nervously before raising the white flag to cold, hard reality. For a split second, journalism accidentally happened. It was less an interview and more a comedic carpet bombing, Maher lobbing inconvenient truths while Zakaria smiled through the debris, the haunted look of a man realizing he might have just committed heresy on live TV. And yes, every glorious second was broadcast for the world to witness. So before we dive headfirst into this rare, delicious eruption of honesty in a desert of media spin, do yourself a favor, smash that subscribe button like it's a CNN ratings graph, because you won't want to miss the next epic detonation of truth, sarcasm, and sweat-inducing reality checks.
Trump wants to sell a visa. You get permanent residency. By the way, I looked this up, we are hardly the first country to do this. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But, I remember...
Yeah, we actually have a version of it. It's called, I think it's called the EB5 or something like that. So it's fine to do it. I actually think maybe it's because I'm, very patriotic. I think 5 million, we should be charging 20 million or, American citizenship is worth more than that.
I don't know about you, but this one made me blink twice and check if I'd accidentally tuned into a parody skit. Fareed Zakaria, yes, that Fareed Zakaria, the CNN veteran whose network practically schedules Trump bashing as a primetime ritual, just called one of Trump's immigration policies a good idea. Plot twist? Try full-blown narrative whiplash. We're talking about Trump's gold card permanent residency proposal, the high roller pass into America with a $5 million entry fee. And not only did Zakaria praise it, he went full auctioneer mode and casually suggested jacking the price to $20 million. Yes, you heard that right. $20 million. To live in America. Coming from a man who often sermonizes on equity and inclusivity, this was a take dipped in rich irony, pun entirely intended. It was like watching the host of Masterpiece Theater suddenly drop a mic and shout, "If you're rich, come on in, but bring a Brinks truck." Somewhere, a think piece writer just fainted. So yes, for a brief, glittering moment, CNN became a place where Trump wasn't the devil incarnate and merit-based immigration got a polite golf clap. We live in strange times, folks, lean in, it's only getting weirder.
Now you're speaking Chicago language. I'm for it, but it's part of a bigger package on immigration reform. It's been 42 years since the last one. So I'm not against it, but it's part of a whole package.
Now hold up, because I really should have said this earlier, Bill Maher is low-key playing 4D chess while everyone else is still arguing over checkers. Seriously, the man's got Jedi-level interrogation skills, cloaked in sarcasm and smirks. What he pulled off on that stage wasn't a fluke, it was surgical truth extraction. Just watch the scene unfold. Not one, but two dyed-in-the-wool lefties, including none other than Fareed Zakaria, willingly admitted, on live television, that a Trump policy actually made sense. It wasn't a brawl, it wasn't a trap, it was pure conversational jiu-jitsu. Maher laid the groundwork with a deceptively casual, "Hey, this one's actually smart," about the gold card policy. And just like that, snap, they followed. Like political dominoes falling in a line they swore they'd never touch. And then comes Rahm Emanuel. Yes, that Rahm Emanuel. The Democrats' Democrat. Obama's guy. The political pit bull of the left. Even he chimed in and admitted it's been ages since anyone proposed something like this. A long time, Rahm? Really? You don't say. Makes you wonder, what exactly was the Democratic Brain Trust doing all those years? Too busy drafting tweets and handing out gold stars for virtue signals while ignoring common sense ideas like this? But here's the real twist of the knife, Rahm didn't stop there. No, he went full meta and took a swipe at his own party's woke policies, on air. Watching that happen was like spotting a glitch in the Matrix. And suddenly, you realize, Maher didn't just host a segment. He hosted a reality check, and somehow, CNN's echo chamber let a little fresh air in. Get your popcorn. The unraveling has begun.
There is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those three things and your city's going to be fine. We've gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive of culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster. Yeah. And our school, and I'll say this about our schools. I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom.
It's starting to feel like open season on the left, and let's be honest, it's weirdly entertaining to watch. For those just tuning in mid-chaos, let me set the stage. On Real Time, Bill Maher casually lobbed a grenade of a stat into the conversation. Why does the mayor of Chicago have a jaw-dropping, soul-crushing 6.6% approval rating? That's not just bad. That's, you might want to fake your own death and start over in a small village, bad. And then, in walked Rahm Emanuel, former mayor, political bruiser, and veteran of the spin machine. But instead of defending his party, he basically hit the self-destruct button, with a smile. No sugarcoating, no deflection. Just a brutal takedown of his own side. He called out the left for becoming so addicted to pointless culture war theatrics that the entire movement now looks unmoored, unserious, and frankly, radioactive. Then came the rant. Oh, and it was glorious. Like a man finally snapping at a dinner party where everyone's pretending tofu is turkey, Rahm begged the woke crowd to stop turning locker rooms and bathrooms into battlegrounds. Maybe, just maybe, they could try refocusing on something that actually matters, like, say, education. You know, reading? Math? Classrooms? That stuff. The stuff regular people care about while the Twitter mob argues over pronouns on cereal boxes. It was a rare blast of clarity, a live, mid-show mic drop wrapped in political heresy. And the irony? It took a Democrat, on HBO no less, torching his own ideological tribe to finally say what millions of Americans have been screaming into the void for years. And Rahm? He wasn't done. Oh no. That was just the warm-up act.
We had the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it. Okay, this is, we literally are a superpower. We're facing off against China with 1.4 billion people, and 2/3 of our children can't read 8th grade level.
As hilarious as this entire exchange was, and believe me, it was, there's something darker simmering beneath the surface. It's also a little heartbreaking. Somewhere along the way, we became so terrified of offending, so eager to appease, that we handed the steering wheel to a fringe minority of ideological zealots. Disguised in the feel-good language of progress, they've cherry-picked shaky research and paraded half-baked studies to justify agendas that are, frankly, invasive and at times flat-out inappropriate. Under the banner of inclusivity, we've allowed demands that once would have raised bipartisan eyebrows, like unrestricted access to women's bathrooms and locker rooms, to slide in unchecked. Common sense? Trashed. Long-standing values? Tossed like yesterday's headlines. And in their place, we've gulped down the ideological Kool-Aid, blindly following the loudest voices in the room, even when they lead us off a cliff. What used to be obvious, like protecting the privacy and safety of women, is now somehow controversial. Why? To pacify a digital mob? To win the approval of activist elites who speak in hashtags and think in outrage? But here's the unexpected twist, a silver lining glinting through the ideological fog. Big names on the left, people like Rahm Emanuel and Fareed Zakaria, are starting to crack through the narrative. Maybe it's Trump acting as the unlikely catalyst. Maybe it's Bill Maher, playing the role of reluctant truth-teller with a smirk and a spotlight. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the weight of reality finally shattering the glass bubble of groupthink. Whatever the cause, one thing's clear, the shift is happening. And it's long overdue. Because someone, finally, is saying what millions have been quietly thinking for far too long.
If you look at Democratic states, you go look at New York versus Florida, okay? Roughly the same population. The budget of New York State is twice that of Florida. What do they have? Streets paved with gold? I live in New York. I pay the highest taxes in New York. You get nothing for it. And I think that is the image people have of the Democratic Party. Lots of taxes, lots of regulation, but nothing gets done.
Bill Maher didn't just coax a reluctant nod of approval toward a Trump policy, he lit the fuse on a political chain reaction. What unfolded next wasn't just acknowledgement. It was open mutiny. He got them, Rahm Emanuel and Fareed Zakaria, to turn on each other like weary contestants in a special edition of Survivor, Ideological Island. The torches weren't just snuffed, they were set ablaze. Suddenly, these seasoned left-wing voices were tossing blame like hot potatoes. Listen closely, and you'll hear it, a quiet but unmistakable panic. Finger-pointing across the ideological aisle? Try finger-pointing within it. They weren't just critiquing the system, they were pulling back the curtain on the very mess their own side helped create. Sky-high living costs. Crippling regulations strangling small businesses. Inflation that feels like robbery in slow motion. Taxes so brutal they make you question your career, your zip code, your very will to live. And then, the moment. That flicker in their eyes. The dawning horror. Wait a minute, maybe we're the problem. What we witnessed wasn't just a televised spat. It was poetic justice, live and unscripted. After years of moralizing, lecturing, and pretending to hold the monopoly on how to run a country, the left is now publicly eating its own, one regretful soundbite at a time. And honestly? We're here for it. Grab the popcorn, top it with irony, and take a front row seat, because when the very architects of the chaos start questioning the blueprint, you know the narrative isn't just wobbling. It's collapsing.
The point isn't the rules. The point is the results. And the party has gotten way too focused on what the rules are. And I do agree with you on this. We have made it impossible to function as a city or as a state.
So here's the million-dollar question. Did Fareed Zakaria suddenly stumble into an epiphany, or has he known the truth all along, quietly nodding from the sidelines while Biden steered the country straight into a ditch? Because let's be real, CNN hasn't exactly been a neutral observer these past several years. It wasn't just anti-Trump commentary, it was a coordinated broadcast offensive, complete with lopsided panels, Democrat-heavy echo chambers, and the lone Republican thrown in like garnish. Just enough to claim balance. Just enough to check a box. And those news reports? Please. Half of them read like movie scripts, Trump cast as the villain, the soundtrack already cued, the moral outrage prepackaged. So now, watching Zakaria experience this very public awakening, you can't help but ask, where was this energy when it actually mattered? When Biden was busy lighting policy fires and blaming the thermostat? Was it political pressure? Professional loyalty? Or just strategic silence? Because if he just realized the wheels are off the bus, that's either willful blindness or convenient muteness, and let's be honest, neither is a good look. This sudden clarity may be perfectly timed, sure. But it doesn't feel courageous. It feels overdue. Calculated. Convenient. Maybe the truth isn't setting Fareed free. Maybe it's just finally caught up to him.
Take an example of this example. Here obviously in LA, it took a fire and a natural disaster to make you realize, you know what, that rule's not that important. In Pennsylvania, a bridge collapsed. All of a sudden we go, well, that environmental rule is just not important. We got to build a bridge. It's much more important. And I think the Democratic Party should take a look at it and say, we're going to be honest, like we did in 1994 with reinventing government. Everything is on the table. Nothing is safe.
And that right there is what so many of us have been shouting from the rooftops for years. If the Democratic Party has any hope of staging a real comeback, one that actually connects with everyday Americans, it needs to stop chasing applause from Twitter and start listening to people around the kitchen table. It's time to drop the slogans, the distractions, and the policies that insult basic common sense. Because let's be real, you're not fixing a broken economy by debating pronouns. You're not earning back working-class trust by doubling down on ideological purity while ignoring real-world pain points like inflation, safety, education, and job security. People are exhausted. They're not asking for utopia, they're asking for a government that works. They want lower grocery bills, safe streets, quality schools, and the dignity of a good job, not another lecture about microaggressions or a new round of performative activism dressed up as policy. So yes, if Democrats truly want to claw their way back to relevance, they need to ditch the echo chambers and relearn the language of common sense, the kind that transcends party lines and actually gets things done. Because common sense isn't left or right. It's just been missing in action for far too long.
You refrain from making any purchases, either in stores or online, to shun fast food, getting gas for a full day. I know. That look on your face says it all. You're right. It's so fucking stupid.
And in the end, Bill Maher didn't spark a revolution, he just held up a mirror. And the left? They absolutely hated the reflection. As voices like Zakaria and Rahm begin to break ranks, the cracks aren't just visible anymore, they're spreading fast. If the Democratic Party wants any shot at a true comeback, it's going to take truth over theater, less performance and more policy, and a heavy dose of that long-lost relic, common sense. That's it for today, folks. If you had as much fun watching this unravel as we did breaking it down, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and stay tuned for more bold takes, real talk, and the kind of moments that make the mainstream media sweat. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you in the next clip.